Welcome in, YouTubers. It's Jimmy Card Collector. Happy to be with you again. Just going to do a little show today on the Hall of the Very Good. We all talk about Hall of Famers endlessly, collect them endlessly. They seem to be something of an obsession. I'm no exception. I collect Hall of Famers by design. But there were a lot of really good players that impacted baseball history, impacted the game, and don't make it into the Hall of Fame. And I think as a collector, it is interesting. It's fun to hear about these other players, learn about who they were, what they accomplished. You'd be surprised at some of the things that non-Hall of Famers achieved. And we all know it's a team sport. Hall of Famers, no guarantee of team success, even two. So you got to have a lot of really good players to be a World Series champion. And so today, in honor of those types of players, I'm going to talk a little bit about 5 really good players from the late 40s and 50s and show you some cards and hopefully expand horizons and learn something about some really interesting and good players. This is by no means the 5 players that I think should be in the Hall of Fame or are the next to go into the Hall of Fame or in any way like that. It's just 5 players that I picked, that I had cards of, that I learned their stories and enjoyed what I learned. So I'm going to turn the camera around here and get started. All right, batting first is Pete Reiser. Pete was primarily a Brooklyn Dodger. This is a 1948 Bowman card. I like these cards. They're nice, mostly portraits. The thing about them is they're a little bit small. They're kind of a square more than a rectangle. They're just a little small for me. I guess I've just grown up used to the standard card size. But still, really nice cards. This is a Pete Reiser, also known as Pistol Pete. He played for the Brooklyn Dodgers, but he also played for the Braves, the Pirates, and the Indians. His career spanned from 1940 to 1952. He had a career batting average of .295 with 58 homers. Had great speed, great arm, great defender. Obviously could hit, maybe not hit with a lot of power, but he had power. And so I wanted to highlight him a little bit. Now in 1941 was his rookie season. He was with the Dodgers and they won the pennant. The second year was 1942. He was the National League batting champion. Now, it was during World War II, so not all the players were competing in the league that year, but still, he was the NL batting champion. He also led the league in slugging. He was always a guy that gave full effort. He had a lot of injuries because of that attitude. Suffered concussions. He was temporarily paralyzed. He played center field, so these were all injuries that pretty much happened with collisions with the outfield fence. He was taken off the field 11 times on a stretcher. 11 times. I'm trying to think how many times I've seen a stretcher on the field in my lifetime. So it just tells you the kind of commitment he had when he played. 11 times taken off on a stretcher. Now, I, of course, never saw Pete Reiser play, but I want to give you a quote from Leo Durocher, who, as we all know, was the manager when Willie Mays came up into MLB. And he was also the manager for Pete Reiser when he came up. And here's what Durocher had to say about Pete Reiser. In terms of talent, skill, potential, the only comparable player to Pete Reiser was Willie Mays. Pete had more power than Willie. Pete had everything but luck. That's an incredible statement. He said he had more power than Willie Mays. Even if he didn't, even if he had about the same power as Willie Mays. What a statement that is. And when I read that, I thought, I got to get a Pete Reiser card. This guy was something. Unfortunately, his career was shortened due to injuries. He didn't really, couldn't really excel. He had, as I said, a lot of head concussions and just didn't ever reach his potential. Second, I'd like to take a look at, I am a Red Sox fan. I'd like to take a look at a player that is familiar to all Red Sox fans, and that is Johnny Pesky. This is a 1950 Bowman, again about the same size as the 48, but at least now we have some color, but we've lost the photo image and we have a drawing. But I think you can see pretty good drawings. So Pesky played in 1942 and then 46 through 54. So about 10 years. He played shortstop and third base. Spent his entire career with the Red Sox. And if you've been to Fenway Park, you'll know that the right field pole in the stands to determine whether a ball is fair or foul is called, in right field, it's called the Pesky pole. The reason for that is that Pesky was not a great power hitter. he could just reach the stands, and so that pole was given his name. He had a lifetime batting average of .307 though, so the guy could make contact and put it in play. Probably that kind of average gets you in the Hall of Fame these days. But he only had 17 homers, so a home run was a rarer thing for him. He was interesting in that he batted left-handed, but when he threw the ball, he threw right-handed. My dad is also the same. Anything he does with two hands, whether it's golf or swinging a baseball bat, he's left-handed. But when he does one-handed things, he's right-handed. So I think Johnny Pesky falls in that same camp. In his first 3 seasons in the American League, he led the league in hits. He clearly was a contact hitter, a leadoff type of hitter. He served in World War II for a few seasons, I think 3 seasons altogether. So he missed kind of the 43, 44, and 45 seasons. Certainly shortened his career there. In 1946, the first year back after the war, he batted .335. He was 4th in the MVP voting. And of course, we're talking about he was teammates with Ted Williams. So a really good hitter, a great defender, and went on to become a manager for the Red Sox and also a commentator for radio and TV. So a longtime Red Sox man and a very good player. The next player I'd like to talk about is Johnny Vander Meer. This is Johnny Vander Meer's 1951 Bowman. And Johnny Vander Meer was a pitcher. He's best known for his back-to-back no-hitters. So he pitched a no-hit 9-inning game and then followed it up with another 9-inning no-hit game. his career covered 1937 to 1951. Here he's pictured with the Reds, I believe, and he is most of his career. The most notable part of his career was with the Reds. He was a member of the 1940 World Championship Cincinnati Reds. He suffered a bit from inconsistent performances. He could throw a back-to-back no-hitters, but he could also not pitch too well. He had a losing career record, 119 to 121 wins and losses. He had an ERA of 3.44. He was 4 times selected to the All-Star team. And in 1938, in his second year, he was the All-Star starting pitcher for the National League. He went 3 innings, giving up 1 hit, and in 1938 was named Player of the Year. Johnny Vandermeer, Player of the Year. Some pretty good names were in the game at that time. DiMaggio, I'm trying to think, was Williams? I think Williams might have been playing in 38. So anyway, a tremendous year. But that was sort of the peak of his career. He did pitch a few innings, gave up 1 hit in the 1940 World Series, but he only pitched a few innings. He did serve in the Navy in 44 and 45. Johnny Vandermeer, a really good pitcher for a short period. The next player I'd like to present is Ferris Fain. Not exactly a household name. And yet Fain was a really good player. He played left field and first base, played with the Athletics and the White Sox from 1947 to 55. He was a 5-time All-Star. And get this, he was 2 times AL batting champ. So we're talking in that same period with Williams, who else? Yogi Berra, Joe DiMaggio. These were tough hitters, and twice he was the AL batting champion. He had a career on-base percentage of .424, which ranks 13th all time. His career batting average was .290. He had only 48 homers, another contact hitter. The thing about Ferris Fain was he had an explosive temper. On the field, off the field, the man could not control himself. Even after baseball was over, he had run-ins with the law. So we're talking about a guy who was not well liked by his fellow players. He had a drinking problem. And so he wasn't warmly liked, but the man could hit. One time in 1952, he led the AL with a .324 batting average after breaking his hand in a bar fight, to which he never told his manager about the injury, and he went on to be the AL batting champ. So a very interesting man. He suffered a knee injury in 53, and that limited his career. Basically, he was never the same after that. So Ferris Fain, a very, very good player who many people don't even know about. Last, I'd like to bring up Dom DiMaggio. And of course, we're talking now about one of the younger brothers of Joe DiMaggio. Dom played center field, was fast, played for the Boston Red Sox primarily. He was 5'9", so he was called the Little Professor. He had glasses, you can see there, and got the nickname Little Professor. I spent 11 years in the major leagues from 1940 to 1953. Career batting average of .298 with 87 home runs in his career. So again, another contact hitter. He was 7 times an All-Star. So think about it. 11-year career, 7 times an All-Star. That's a pretty good player. Played alongside Bobby Doerr, Johnny Pesky, who I showed you, Ted Williams. But those Red Sox teams in the 50s could not compete with the Yankees. And so these guys have largely gone unheralded. He was the AL stolen base leader in 1952. Just a demonstration of the speed he brought to the game. He had a 34-game hit streak, and he spent 3 years in the Navy. In 1946 World Series, he batted .259. Not a great World Series, but he at least made it to the World Series. Well, that's it, YouTubers. Thank you for watching. Hope you have a great day. And remember all the really good players that don't make the Hall of Fame.